Earlier today, Bethesda dropped a brand new trailer for Wastelanders, as well as several new details to go along with it. In this video, we're going to talk about that, and there's actually a lot of interesting stuff in the situation and trailer itself. Some people found it disappointing. There's also kind of a delay to the DLC. So in this video, we're going to be doing a bit of a trailer breakdown, but even a little bit more, as there were a ton of additional details and teases to come along with this that weren't included in the trailer. Just a big disclaimer, I'm actually filming this from a hotel room in Chicago. The trailer dropped on those few days I was traveling this month, so if anything sounds a little bit weird or different, that's probably why. But first, let's take a look at some of the other larger details that also were revealed with this trailer. The biggest of which, of course, is the release date of Wastelanders, which is now confirmed to be April 7th, 2020. Which is interesting because Bethesda doesn't really address this, but it's kind of a delay. Technically, they did say it would be coming out in Q1, which ends on March 31st, but rather we're getting it right at the start of Q2. And to go along with this, Fallout 76 will be available on Steam, also starting on April 7th. But now moving over to the trailer itself, there's a couple of interesting things. Firstly, some people are disappointed that it's only a minute long, actually not even 59 seconds in total, although it is listed as Fallout 76 Wastelanders Official Trailer 1. Which to me makes it almost certain that there will be a trailer 2 down the road. Something that immediately stood out to me with this trailer was we've actually seen several of these shots, except as screenshots and the teases they have been delivering over the past few months. Early on, we get a look at Anchor, otherwise known as the crashed space station and the main base of the Raiders in Wastelanders. We can see this raider to the side is wearing what looks like a new outfit. You can see one of the vendors in the background, and you get basically the same thing on the other side of the block for the settlers, an internal shot of their base, some of the traders, and also several new outfits. This part I found pretty interesting because you can see raiders walking, but then it immediately cuts to the cultists. To me, it seems pretty likely that the raiders and the cultists will have some kind of association together. Although, I don't actually know where this is. It definitely looks like it's in the Savage Divide region, it just has that look overall, but it's not really clear if it's a new location or a heavy edit on an existing one. I couldn't identify it, and I asked several others, and they couldn't either. In the background, you could also see a regular ghoul among the cultists. And at this point, I actually thought it was pretty cool. If you look at their hands, they are absolutely destroyed, which was a nice little detail. Overall, the cultists fall into this kind of weird subcategory that we don't know much about. This whole scene is actually pretty interesting also, as we have someone who is asking what I think we're meant to believe is us for help, identifying us as a former Vault resident, which is actually really keen on him. It's not like that person is wearing a giant blue jumpsuit with a Vault number on the back. But on a more serious note, although this obviously might just be the player and that's the obvious answer, I think alternatively it could be Vault 76's Overseer. She continues to narrate this entire trailer like the past one, and Bethesda already confirmed in the description of this trailer that she's making a return in some fashion. We don't actually know what happens to her exactly at the end of Fallout 76's original story, so I would suspect she'll probably play a major role in this DLC. And it seems natural that she would side or help out these settlers. We could also see the dude is wearing a new outfit, which is another one from the concept art. So this one's kind of funny because the armor and the weapon are actually old content. The armor's from Fallout 4, but now going to be publicly available in Fallout 76. Right now you can't get it. But the background is a totally new and seemingly sizable location. It looks to be based in the Cranberry Bog and likely either a cultist or a raider base. It definitely does have a similar layout to the cultist base we saw in the past trailer. And then we kind of get the rapid fire of new content. We finally get a look at the plasma caster. This of course appeared in some of the older Fallout games and now gets an updated version for 76. As the player is firing at the floaters, you can actually see there's this pretty cool looking explosion effect for the plasma bolts themselves. But then, speaking of, we finally do get an in-game look at the floaters. These appeared in some of the older Fallouts when they were the top-down 2D style, but now we are getting them in 76. It looks like we have two different variants here, one frost or freezing kind and a poison or toxic kind. In the original concept art they shared, seemingly they would have different looks depending on their type, but now it looks like it's more of just a color change. And seemingly they can move pretty quick. You can see in the final frames of this shot, he really lunges at you, and it also gives you a better look at the mouth of these guys, which is terrifying. Here we can see what looks like it's going to be a new unarmed weapon of sorts, very similar to the Power Fist, but this time you have a blade attached. And then towards the end of this one, you could actually find a player fighting a Wendigo Colossus with a bow and arrow. This is seemingly going to be one of the compound bows coming with this, Bows were actually data mined from Fallout 76 since day one, but they actually scrapped that original bow design now for this new one, and these bows seem like they could be pretty cool. We've heard in the past how they're actually going to have several arrow types and even some new perks to go along with them. And of course, the Wendigo Colossus itself just looks horrifying, but also awesome. And then with some of the final shots in the trailer, they give us a better look at this new power armor, what is believed to be the Secret Service power armor. We saw this briefly in the old trailer, but it was kind of obscured and dark. But now with the close-up, it definitely looks pretty cool. It has a similar design to some of the other power armors, but it definitely looks a bit heavier, like a bulkier take on it. In the description of the video, Bethesda gives a brief synopsis of what Wastelanders will be overall, describing how two vying factions are struggling to gain the upper hand as the secrets of West Virginia are revealed. The settlers have come to find a new home, and the raiders have come to exploit them. Embark on a new quest for the Overseer, forge alliance with competing factions, and uncover the truth of what's hidden in the mountains. Which does coincide with the Overseer's commentary during the trailer. It seems like that these people came into the area, and likely the treasure of Appalachia will play a role here, which seems to be located in Vault 79. And although we haven't really heard a ton about it directly, it was pretty clearly shown in some of the past teaser images for Wastelanders. So overall with the trailer, I found it kind of interesting. On my first watch, I was really excited. Everything in it I think looks good and solid, but following its release, there also have been some concerns by the community. Firstly, it's kind of short at only a minute long, but separate from that, there isn't really all that much new content in the trailer. We definitely see new things, several of the weapons, items, or enemies we've heard about, seen concept art about, but never actually saw in game, and now we do. But as far as content we literally had no idea about, the only thing was really that melee weapon. Almost everything else had been revealed or discussed at one point or another, and I think for that reason it felt underwhelming for some. There weren't any big or exciting reveals in this one. So now on one hand, maybe Bethesda is just saving some of those surprises for when you actually play Wastelanders or even the later trailers, like a launch trailer. Or maybe there just isn't a ton of new content. Perhaps we're only seeing things we've heard about because we've heard about almost everything. Now, of course, we'll know more with time, and I'm sure once the second trailer does release, but we also did learn that Fallout 76 is getting a new deluxe edition. They're adding in new Raider and Settler content bundles. This is basically an Atomic Shop edition, but you could actually buy it without having to buy atoms. So this will be available on Steam as kind of a DLC, but also if you buy the deluxe edition, you'll actually get the game as well as these two content bundles with them. And you get a decent amount, even some stuff that is not shown in this image. Mostly different camp items, but of course the premier aspects are this new skin for the power armor. The Raider one in particular just looks really good. The Settler one we've actually seen somewhat in the past, and also new outfits, one for each faction. Although separate from that, something else pretty cool in this article, Bethesda actually posted a picture of this new power armor, and he is holding the new Gauss rifle that is coming with this DLC. This actually has a really cool design to it. I'm quite excited to use these. It'll be interesting to see how they fit in. Maybe it's a faction thing with the Settlers or the Raiders, but we are getting a full set of new Gauss weapons, which will likely fill out the top end of Fallout 76's weapon list. As far as Fallout 76 coming to Steam, it seems like things are going to be largely separate. You'll either have your Bethesda.net version or your Steam version. So if you buy Fallout first, it's only applicable to one or the other. You can't transfer it. And even further, you can't actually transfer atoms from one platform to the other. So when you buy atoms on Steam, they will stay on Steam, and well, you can buy atoms on Steam now. The one thing that does transfer are in-game purchases from the Atomic Shop. Those will be usable regardless of which platform you are playing on. So that's a pretty good look at the facts of what's coming with Wastelanders and a better idea of what you can expect. As far as my own thoughts on all of this go overall, I gave some brief impressions of the trailer before, but just taking it all together, it gets me really excited, but I feel like not as excited as it could have. Like, it's definitely good. I like everything I saw, but for some reason I still am a little bit wary. The hype levels aren't as high as I thought they would have been today. And I don't think I'm alone with this. Even several members of the community have described how the trailer's not bad. It's not like it's doing anything wrong or showing any bad aspects, but it's just kind of Now, hopefully this means that the follow-up trailers will be much meatier, much more substantial. The Fallout 76 trailers overall, I would argue, have actually been fantastic and some of the best out of all of the Fallout games. But after seeing this one, it hasn't really quelled some of my fears around a content problem with Wastelanders. I'm really nervous that when this DLC does drop, it'll be incredible for like 2 days. Yeah, we get 48 hours of new content and then it'll be back to normal or back to grinds or radiant quests or having to repeat the content. Bethesda has been working on this for almost a year, so that does give me faith that it will be pretty substantial. I just hope it is large enough to actually keep us entertained for a decent amount of time. Although just speaking specifically on all of the new things we've seen, whether it be the new outfits, the new weapons, or especially the new creatures, they look awesome. I think they're going to make really great additions to Fallout 76, and I get excited to make content covering or playing, showing you how to get some of those new items. Although I have a feeling this may not be the end of Wastelanders news this week. Bethesda does do their weekly articles typically on Thursdays. I don't know if this is now coming out on Tuesday invalidates the Thursday article, but right at the end of this new tease, they did mention that you could keep up to date with the Inside the Vault to continue to get Wastelander news and updates. So I have a feeling this Thursday we're going to find out a little bit more, maybe a better deep dive on one specific aspect, but hopefully it also does mean that we will be getting some details around the expansion of the private test server. I don't know when the private test server will end, but likely it'll go on for at least another month, considering the DLC itself doesn't come out for 2 months. So there's definitely still a good amount of time for more players to get added, and hopefully they get many of those bugs fixed. To me, out of all of this, that was actually the most surprising part, how late this is coming out, that they're actually missing that Q1 target date. I don't think there's anything major to be interpreted by that, but it is interesting and definitely kind of curious. Either way, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this one. I thank you all for watching. Hopefully the video came out okay. I am still in my hotel room, but with that, I hope to see you all next time. Later.